Very warm greetings to everyone. This is Suhasini S, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, RMD Engineering College. In this video lecture, I'm going to discuss about the topic functional dependency. So let's move on to what is functional dependency. So functional dependency is a relationship that exists between two attributes. So what are the two attributes? For example, I'm taking that A and B are the two attributes. So I want to check the dependency between these two attributes. Who is dependent on what? Okay. So A is dependent on B or B is dependent on A. To check that relationship, we'll find this functional dependency. So while checking that, we have two different key attributes. One is primary key and the one is non-key attribute. Okay. So which is primary key is, for example, I told A and B are the attributes. So now A gives B, which means B is completely dependent on A. Now, so B is coming from the A, right? So A is the primary key and B is the non-key attributes. So here they have given an example that A gives Y, X gives Y, sorry, X gives Y. So X gives Y means Y is completely dependent on X. So X is your primary key and Y is a non-key attribute. Okay. So now we have another term called the left side. The left side of functional dependency is called as determinant and the right side is called as dependent. Okay. So for example, here I have a set of attributes like the real-time attributes. So employee ID, employee name, and employee address. So here employee ID attribute can uniquely identify, which means employee ID gives employee name, which means that employee ID can uniquely give the name attribute from the employee table. So now this employee name is functionally dependent on the employee ID. So this is how we'll tell this functional dependency. So here I have two different types also. So in this you have trivial functional dependency. What is trivial functional dependency is, previously I was telling that A is dependent, A is giving B. So B is dependent on A. Suppose if A itself dependent, A gives A means, so A itself dependent on A. This type is called as functional dependency. So the determinant itself is having the dependent means, then that is called as trivial functional dependency. So here, for example, I have two columns like employee ID and employee name. So employee ID, employee name together gives employee ID. So this is trivial dependency. Why? Because is the employee ID which I want to determine is a part of the primary. Okay. So now this type of dependency is called as trivial functional dependency. So what is non-trivial functional dependency is, normal A gives B is the non-functional dependency. So now whatever we have seen in the very first basic example for functional dependency, so those are called as your non-trivial functional dependency. So A gives B, so A is the non-functional dependency, so B is dependent on A. So for example here ID gives name, so name is completely dependent on ID. So name gives date of birth, so date of birth is completely dependent on name. So no, this name and date of birth is not a part of the primary key, it is not in the left hand side. So this is called as non-trivial functional dependency. So coming to check this functional dependency, I have X is giving Y. So I have to prove that this is correct. So Y is completely dependent on X. I have to prove. So for that, I have to check the condition that T dot of X gives T2 dot X. So T1 of X T1 should be equal to T2 of X. So T1 of Y should be equal to T2 of Y. So when I take 1, there is no more 1. So 1 gives 1. So no problem. So when I take 2, we have two 2's here. So this here, this is T1, this is T2 of X. Okay, T1 of X, T2 of X. So T1 of X is 2, T2 of X is also 2. So this is equal. Next I have to go for checking this T1 dot Y is equal to T2 dot Y. Okay, so now I'm checking that now it is 1 and here it is 5. So this is completely different. So I cannot say that X is functional, X is giving Y. So Y is not functional dependent on X. Based on the Y X value only, the Y is not determined. Okay, this is how I am just telling. So next is functional dependency. For we have certain rules. First is split rule. If I have X gives Y Z, I can give X gives Y and X gives Z. Okay, like this I can split the functional dependency into single attribute, and I have to find the redundant functional dependency and I have to remove that. So X is giving Y, Y gives Z and X gives Z. So now x itself is giving y, right? X itself is giving y and y giving z. So now x is giving z. Okay, so z is a part of y and y is a part of x. So I don't need this x gives y. So now I'm removing this redundant. And also, to split this, identify the redundant attributes on LHS and remove them. You can find the redundancy in left side also. So how is, so when you check that x itself giving y is also giving, x is giving y is giving z. Y itself, y is and individually, okay, y individually is giving z, then why there is a need of x. So x is a redundant attribute. When you take the previous thing, here I have x gives z. So x itself giving z, then why there is a need of attribute called y. So I can remove that. So likewise, you can find the redundancy in the left side also and you can remove. So this is how this functional dependency will be calculated. Thank you.